Let's create a custom preset from scratch on the Fractal. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and my Fractal deep dives. You know, I had figured that I haven't shown you guys yet how to create custom presets, as in from absolute scratch. So today, what I thought I would do is actually show you my process in creating custom presets, because I do it all the time. And I know for somebody who's just getting their Fractal unit, this can be really, really helpful. So today I'm going to dive into how I actually set up my entire chain, create scenes, and then save it as a template as well, and some tricks and tips along the way also. I'll show you on the FM9 Turbo today, but you can do this on any Fractal unit. Today I'm going to show you all of the editing on FM9 Edit on my Mac. Everything can be done on the unit, but I do recommend you get the Mac or PC editor, as especially if you're starting out, this is an easier way to create presets and tweak them as well. So let's head over to FM9 Edit and let's get going. All right, over here in FM9 Edit, you can see that I have a completely blank template right now, and I have zero sound basically. You're just hearing my guitar through my camera microphone right now. All right, so let's create a signal chain here. So the first thing that I do when I set up a custom preset is to put an input and an output. So right here on the left-hand side of the screen, I'm going to put input number 1. And then on the same line, further up somewhere, I will put my output. So I'll put output number 1. And then when you hover over these nodes, you'll see that it'll bring up a couple of ears on each side. And if the input was here, you'll see that there is another little node on the other side. But we'll leave this here at the moment because we don't need anything before the input. So when you click on these nodes, it actually brings up the nodes for everything else that it can connect to. So wherever you see these green dots here, then this node here can connect to there. But we don't want to connect to anything up here. We just want to go to the output right now. So I'm going to go over to the output and click here. And you can see on the screen it says click to connect. And I'll click it here and you'll see that it creates a line, which is the signal going from the input over to the output. Now I have signal running through my FM9. And even without an amp and a cab, the Fractal sounds amazing, right? I could put a delay and reverb on there and have a clean sound. Anyways, we are going to add an amp and a cab. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. Somewhere in the middle here, I'm going to add an amp and a cab. And I'll add it right down here in these two blocks. So first, I'll add the amplifier block, and then I will go over to the cab. I'm not going to worry about which amplifier it's chosen right now. I'll just add the cab first, because without the cab, the amplifier sound is going to suck, and we don't want it to suck. Now, in the cab block, you have two choices. You can go with the legacy, which is the impulse response. And you can go to the picker, and there are hundreds of impulse responses already within the Fractal, which you can pick. I'm actually going to go with the Dynacab. So when you go over to type, you can click on it and then switch over to the Dynacabs. I really like the sound of the Dynacabs, and I use these all the time. And my favorite Dynacab is the 412 1960 TV. It is basically a Marshall 4x12 cab. There are lots of cab sounds to explore, and I would recommend that you spend some time to go through them, because the cab does change the sound of everything. It is such an integral and major part of it. I love the Dynacabs. There are lots of them there, and they're really cool because you can change the placement of the microphones and the type of microphones, etc., and really tweak the sound to sound like you. So do explore all of them so that you can find your perfect sound. So I'm going to activate cab number 2 as well and put the same cab on the other side. The reason I do this is because now I'll pick my microphones. I like to pick dynamic 1 on one side and ribbon on the other. This is a classic combination of a Shure SM57 on one side and then a Royer 121 ribbon mic on the other. It's just a classic combination which is used for recording guitar all the time. So that's what I'm going to do. Now you can then change the placement of the microphones to suit your needs. I'm just going to place these a little closer to the speaker cone. I like it to be right up against the speaker cone, so that's what I'm going to do right now. And I'll leave it there for the time being. We'll go over to the amp and check out what's going on there. So it has picked the 1959 SLP treble channel. This is the Marshall Plexi amp. I love the Marshall Plexi amp. I would highly recommend that you explore the vast list of amplifiers which are available in the Fractal units. There's a couple hundred amplifiers in there, everything from cleans to crunches to high gain stuff. So pick the one that you feel comfortable playing and maybe you play in real life as a starting point, because that would be a great jumping off point to create a preset. I like my Marshalls and high gain tones, so that's what I gravitate to. So this one works perfectly for me. Let's see what the tone is saying. So all of the dials are at 5 at the moment. Now I know this isn't my perfect setting for a Plexi, but let's take a listen anyway. Actually sounds pretty good, but we want to juice it up, so I'm going to put everything on 10. That's how I roll with a Plexi. In fact, my custom Plexi, which I have in my studio, this is exactly how I set it up. Yeah, just roll everything to 10. Now, if you want some more control, then you can go over to the ideal setting, and it has extra controls here, like the master volume, the depth, and various switches as well. There's an inbuilt boost if you want to boost the amplifier. We're not going to do that right now. And then you have a cut switch, a fat switch, and a bright switch. The bright switch is the bright cap. We'll leave it on. It's deactivated at the moment because the master volume's on full. If you roll the master volume down, then that activates the bright switch. The fat actually increases the mids and it actually fills out the sound of the amplifier. We're not going to activate that right now, but we may activate the cut switch in a second after we listen to it, because Marshall Plexis with everything on 10, they're usually quite bassy sounding. Let's have a listen to the sound of the amplifier first and then tweak it. I actually love the way that sounds. I'm just going to leave it like that. Everything on 10. Yes. The cab sounds great as well, so I'm going to leave the microphones in exactly this position. Over on the amp section, there are a couple of tweaks that I like to make to my amplifiers, just to juice them up a little bit and also just to tweak them how I like them to sound. So I'll go over to the power tubes section and I'll change the grid bias from whatever it is to 70%. It's just something that I discovered when I first got the Fractal units. I changed the bias on the amps and it just gave it a little bit more push. So let's have a listen to this. Yeah, that's cool. It was at about 44.5% initially. Let's have a listen there. Great, that's got a little bit more bite and it's a little angrier sounding. That's exactly where I want it to be. All right, next thing I do is go to the dynamics section and I put the input dynamics at 5. What this does is expands the actual signal. So under my fingers, it actually bounces a little bit more. It feels a little bit more like a real amp. You can probably hear what that's doing to the sound of the amplifier. It's adjusting it ever so slightly and it's reshaping the tone of it. The other thing I like to do is go to the input block and actually take the threshold off the gate. Now, it makes it a little bit noisy like this, just a tiny bit of hiss, but I don't mind that because I'm used to playing tube amps. I have many tube amps in my studio and this is what tube amps do. But if you want to get rid of the noise, you can actually adjust the threshold And we'll do that for the time being. I'll just put it around here so that it gets rid of that hiss for the time being. But let's have a check out what it does with the threshold on and off. So with the threshold on, we've obviously got nice quiet guitar at the moment. And when I play, we get the sound of the amplifier. If I turn it off, get a little bit more bumps and stuff like that. I like the way it sounds without the threshold on, but like I said, we'll leave it on for the time being. It was at about 60 dB, so I'm just going to dial it up to about there at the moment, maybe a little bit less. Yeah, let's do about 70. Then we'll just leave it there for the timing. Okay, I've got my basic chain going on there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to name it. I'm just going to put JP Plexi, and then I'm going to hit save. This will make sure that I don't lose it, just in case I click up or down and then I come back and it's completely blank and I'm like, oh no, I lost all my work. So make sure you do this quite often when you're creating presets so that you don't lose everything that you have done. All right, a couple more things that I want in here. Delay and reverb. It's something that I like to put in. I'm going to do this right now. So first of all, I'll put a delay here and the reverb will be at the end of the chain. And if you want chorus and stuff, you can put that in as well. I'm not going to add that right now. We're just creating a basic chain right now. So I'll go over to the delay. I'll put that in. Now, I have my favorite types of delay. You can go through all the different delays and see what you like the sound of. I really like the dual delays. So I have some specific numbers which I like to dial in here and here. So on one side, I like to have 398, and on the other side, 798. And this kind of works for me. It's kind of the whole old SDE 3000 style of delay. Let's have a listen. Beautiful. I adore the sound of that, so I'm going to keep that just as it is. I will leave the mix at 15% at the moment. When I set up my lead sound a little bit later, I am going to increase that because I like to hear it a little bit more. I do leave my delays on rhythm as well because it thickens up the sound. I only track one left, one right, but it sounds big because there is a delay signal in there. It's thickening up the overall sound. I'm not going to change any of the other parameters. I like the way this all is set up, so I will leave it as it is for the time being. I'll hit save again. All right, let's add a reverb in there. So let's go to reverb. I'll put reverb number 1 in here, and it's immediately put London plate in there. I really like the sound of this one. Again, you can experiment with the reverb type to see which one you like. Let's dial this up a little bit first. So I'll put it at about 40% at the moment, which is a lot. But I want you guys to hear how this sounds at the moment. Beautiful reverb sound. Again, there are lots of reverbs that you can pick and you can experiment with which ones you like the sound of. I would very much encourage you to go through lots of these and see what they do to the sound. There are some real special effects in here. So if I go over to Stratocumulus, you'll see this is a very, very particular style of reverb. It's absolutely enormous sounding. This is great for some clean sounds and ambient sounds and stuff. It's a little bit too much for me right now, so I'll go back to the London plate and I'm going to dial this down to about maybe 10%. Just want a little hint there. That's perfect. I don't need any more than that. I don't like my rhythm sound to be very wet. Even my lead sound, I usually leave it around 10 or 12%. But that's pretty good. Hey, if you're enjoying this one, then please do subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification as well, because more Fractal videos will be coming to my channel. I also have a full playlist with lots of tutorials already about what you can do in the Fractalverse, so please do check that out. Thanks so much. All right, let's get back to this. Fabulous. I'll hit save again. All right, that's a really good rhythm sound. I can live with that one, but I do want a little bit more juice. So what I'm going to do is add an overdrive pedal, and I'll add it over here. So let's go over to drive and see what it loads up. It has loaded up the Tube Drive 3 knob at the moment. Let's have a listen. I am going to change this because there are a couple of others which I like the sound of a little bit better, but let's take a listen. Yeah, that's pretty cool, but I want a classic tube screamer. Yeah. So I'm going to go over to the T808OD and select that one. Let's take a listen. Great, that's actually sounding pretty good, but it's not the right one. I actually really liked that tube drive, so I'm going to go back to it. I'm going to leave the tube drive in here because it was fat sounding. And let's check it out with and without. Now, one of the things you can do when you're editing in FM9 Edit or something like that is you can use the spacebar on your keyboard to switch effects on and off if they're selected. So let's do that. That's sounding really good. One thing I have noticed, the reverb is a little too much for me, so I'm going to drop this even further. I'm going to put it at about 6%. Yeah, just a tiny bit. The delay is way too loud as well, so I'll drop this down to about 10%. Perfect. That's great. I like the sound of that. I like how everything's working together. So I'm going to press save now. Okay, I'm going to name this Rhythm 1 in the scenes section. Now, this is going to be important because I'm then going to copy this over to the other scenes. This is going to give me a basic template which I can work from to create the rest of the parts of this as well. So if I go over to here, I can go over to copy, and I can copy it to various scenes here, or I can copy it to all. At the moment, I'm just going to copy it to all just for convenience, and then I'll tweak the scenes as I go along. All right, so when I go over to scenes now, you'll see that rhythm 1 is on everything. So if I go to number 2, it's rhythm 1, number 3 is rhythm 1, etc., etc. We're going to change that. So I'll go back to number 1, and what I'm going to do is turn off this drive pedal first of all, and call this rhythm number 1 and press save. Then I'll go over to scene number 2 over here, and I'll change this to rhythm number 2. And for this, I'm going to leave the overdrive pedal on. Great, now I've got 2 different rhythm sounds, one slightly boosted, one basically classic plexi. So if I go to scene number 1, I've got that, and scene number 2, a little bit more saturated there. Yeah. So when I do my double tracking, one on the left, one on the right, I have a slightly different tone left and right. Okay, we need a lead tone now. So I'll go to scene number 3. I'm going to rename this lead. And I'm going to make a couple of changes now to this. So I want a little bit more drive on the drive pedal, But if I actually change any of the settings here, it'll just change it for everything. So what I'm going to do is go over to another channel here in my effect. So we have 4 channels on each effect. And if I go over to channel B here, you'll see that I have a tube drive in there as well. Let's see on number 3 and number 4. Great. It's the same on everything. Now, when I go to channel B, I can actually change the overdrive pedal to something else. So let's say I go over to the shimmer drive. I really like the sound of the shimmer drive. In fact, let's try this. Okay, I'll put the shimmer drive in there, and you'll see that when I go to channel A, it's still the tube drive with the 3 knobs on there. And in channel B, I've got the shimmer drive. So this is going to sound different. Fabulous. As you saw there, I actually changed the settings on the overdrive pedal and basically created a lead kind of boost that I wanted there. So I'm going to hit save again. Now what you'll see here is if I go over to scene number 2 here, where I have my rhythm 2 sound, it actually changes back to the tube drive. So I have 2 different overdrive pedals in this preset now. Now you can do this with the amplifiers as well, and the cabs and the delays, etc, etc. In fact, for this lead tone, I am going to do the same thing with the delays. So I'll go over to channel B here. I've got a dual delay in here, but as you can see, the settings are different. Yeah, on one it's 375 and 750, on the other one it's 398 and 798. So what I'm going to do is actually copy channel A over to channel B. I want the same timing, but I want to increase the mix. So I'll go over to copy channel A, and then I can copy it to channel B, C, or D. Or you can copy the current channel to all channels as well. I'll just go over and copy it to B now, right now. So now we've got the dual delay in B as well, and it's exactly the same timing, 398 and 798 as well. I'm going to increase the feedback ever so slightly to about 25% on each side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the mix here. So I'll put it at about, let's say 25-ish% there, right? So I'm going to have more of a mix now. It's much more prominent in there. So if I go over to channel A, and when I go over to channel B, it's louder. So when I play now, fabulous. I've got a lead tone there. Now the delay might sound excessive by itself right now, but in a mix, that will start to poke through. If the delay mix is less than this, then you likely won't be able to hear it in the mix. And this is just experience from recording lots of tracks and mixing tracks as well. Fabulous. All right, we've got our lead tone there. One more thing that we need for this one, for our first ever preset. We need a clean sound. So what I'm going to do is copy this scene over to scene number 4. The reason I'm going to do this is I'm going to use this as a template and actually change the amplifier. So scene number 4, I'm going to change this to clean. I'll hit save again. And I'm going to disengage the overdrive pedal. Now what I'm going to do is go over to the amplifier section. And just like the rest of the blocks, we have different channels on our amplifier as well. So I'll go over to channel B. And here I'm going to select a completely different amplifier, a clean amplifier. Now you can choose whatever you want from the list of amplifiers that are in here. You can choose a Fender amp, you can choose one of the other clean amps like an AC30 or something. I have a favorite clean amp, which is the CA3 Plus Clean. So I'm going to select this one. It's just a really nice sounding clean amplifier. So let's have a listen in its stock setting. Fabulous. That's already sounding really, really good. I want it to be brighter though. So I'm going to pull back some of the mids. I'm going to increase the treble, increase the presence. Let's have a listen now. Fabulous. It's quite bass heavy, this amplifier, so I'm going to pull the bass back to maybe about 3-ish or something like that. Right about there. Let's have a listen to this now. A little bit more. I'll do it in the middle. Let's go for 4. Fabulous. I really like the sound of that, so I'm going to hit save again. All right, one more thing that I'm going to do. I like the way the delay sounds, so I'm going to leave the delay as it is, but the reverb I am going to change. So let's go over to channel B, and it's actually loaded up large hall. Let's have a listen to what this sounds like. That's pretty cool, but come on, let's go for the Stratocumulus. That's a really, really awesome one, right? Beautiful. Hit save. One last thing I want to add to the clean sound is a compressor. So what I'm going to do is go to the first block here, which is free, and add my compressor block in here. Now I have my favorite compressor, which is the optical compressor. I've actually gone through all of these to find which one actually works for me the best. I like the sound of the optical compressor because I can't really hear it, but it's doing something for sure. So I'm just going to add this in and have a listen to it. What I'm looking for is for the notes to even out a little bit. Fabulous, that's sounding really good. I love the way that compressor sounds. So I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to check the rest of the scenes to make sure that the compressor is actually switched off, because when you do add blocks like this, it does actually add it into all the scenes as well. So I'm going to switch it off on all of the other scenes and press save, so that when I go to my clean scene, I have my compressor on, because I do not want the compressor on the rhythm scenes and also the lead sound as well. Alrighty, that's all saved and I've got my compressor there. You can add different things into the signal chain as well. Let's say you want a chorus, you can easily do that either pre or post amp. I'm going to just test it out post amp. Let's add a chorus in here. And again, you know, there are lots of choruses which you can explore and have a listen to the sound of. I like the dimension choruses. These sound really great. So I'm just going to go for dimension 1. Just have a listen to it. That's glorious. That's really nice. I'm going to leave that in there, but I'm going to switch it off for the time being and just save it in a state like that. Now there is one more block which I want to add, and that's the enhancer, in order to give my clean sound a stereo image. But I've actually run out of blocks here. So what to do? What to do? Well, this is where it gets really easy in the edit screen. I can just grab a block and I can just move it along. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm going to create a little bit of space right here. Then I'm just going to join everything up just like I did at the beginning. So now I've got my extra block here. And in here, I'm going to put the enhancer. So what this is a stereoizer. And I'm going to select the classic and I'm going to put the width up quite a bit because I want it to sound quite wide. So I'll switch it off for the time being and you can have a listen to the mono signal and then I'll switch it on and you can hear what it does. So as you can probably hear, it's actually taken it from the middle and it's widened it. So I like to record my clean guitars like this. I've made it a little too wide, so I'm going to pull this back to maybe about 65 odd %. And that's the sweet spot for me. Fabulous. I'll leave it on and then I'll save this so that it is on my default clean sound. There is one more block here. You can add something in if you want. I'm not going to add anything else into the signal chain. This is pretty good for me right now. Okay, final step that we're going to do is check all the presets back to back. The reason I do this is to make sure that all the sounds actually work together. So I'll start off with my first rhythm sound. And then I will have a listen to the others as well. And check this out. Look, because I added the enhancer and the chorus, it's actually on the other patches as well. Yep. So I've got to go through this and I'm going to make sure that I switch them off. So let's do that first. There you go. And then I'll go back to scene number 1 and hit save. All right, let's listen to all of these and see if they work together. And I'm just going to cycle through all the scenes so that I can have a listen to them. That's really great. Everything sounds pretty balanced. Now this isn't a live tone, so I don't need to adjust the volume of my lead preset. If I was setting this for live, then what I would naturally do is come back to my lead scene, go to the amplifier, and then duplicate this to another channel and then up the level so that I have a boost in there for the volume when I go to my lead tone. But like I said, this is just a studio tone right now, so I'm happy to leave it just like this. One thing I did notice was that Rhythm 1 sound is a little bit loose and flubby. Although it sounds good in isolation, I have a feeling that it's going to get a little bit lost in the mix when I try and record with it. So I'm actually going to add a drive pedal right at the beginning here. So I'm going to do this on another channel. I'll go to channel C so that I can add a different drive pedal in. Now, I really like the shimmer drive, and what I want to do is just add a little bit more kind of presence into it. So I'm going to pull the drive quite far down, just about, let's say 2.5-ish, and then I'll boost the level a little bit as well. So we'll have a check here. All right, that's pretty good. That's a little bit too much drive, so I'll pull it down even further to about there. Yeah, I like the way that sounds. I can hear that it's actually cutting through. The mids are cutting through a little bit more. And I'm going to lower the tone just a little bit because it is sounding quite bright. Fabulous. I like the sound of that, so I'm going to save that. so that my rhythm one is slightly different. All right, I've got 4 scenes now, which is awesome. I am ready to record with this. Now you can actually reconfigure the scenes by swapping them over. If you go over to the scenes here, you can go to swap and you can swap the current one for whichever scene you want. So let's say you want your clean first and then your rhythm sounds and then your lead sounds. Then I can swap this for scene 4. And if I do that, check out what happens. I've got my clean here, and in number 4, I've got my rhythm 1, which is all the way at the end after my lead tone. So what I'm going to do is switch that back because, hey, I'm going to go for kind of, high gain rhythm first. So I'll go over to my scenes again and I'll swap scene number 1 for scene number 4. So I have my rhythm 1 there as well, but you can reconfigure if you want to. Now here's a little bonus. Once you've created your preset, if you want to keep replicating that same pattern, then what you can do is you can go over to presets and you can actually save it as a template, and it will save a template to your Mac or your PC, and you can basically recall it when you need to. I'm not going to do that right now, but you can do it if you need to. And there you go. We've got our first custom preset. How cool is that? That's the basics of it, and then you can get really complicated with all of it. This will get you started with creating presets within the Fractalverse. Alrighty, now that I have my custom preset done, I think I should go and record a track, right? I've got everything in place. I've got 2 scenes which are rhythms. I've got 1 scene which is lead, and I've got another which is clean as well. So I have everything I need in order to record my guitars. So I'm going to plug some of my favorite guitars in and basically record something which is pretty rocking because, hey, after all, it's a Marshall Plexi amp, right? Alrighty, I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, please do leave them in the comments box below. Also, do check out my Gumroad page where I have a lot of presets available, some free and some premium as well, and I have a full signature preset pack which you can purchase and download and enjoy. So do check that out. If you enjoyed this one, you know the drill. Subscribe to the channel, give it a like, give it a hype, and also share it with your friends as well. Alrighty, let's see what I come up with in terms of a track. Well, actually, you heard a little bit of it at the beginning of the video, right? So we're kind of going back to the future, or back to the past, or back to the future. I don't know. Anyways, I'm getting all confused here. I'm just going to play my guitar. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon with another one. Bye for now.